So what do we make of the Mayor of Auckland, his idea to have the second harbour crossing go from, well, it's Meola Reef across into the North Shore. Meola Reef, of course, near Point Chev. Waterview Point Chev in the city there, just outside the city, a suburb outside the city, and across to the North Shore. Now, no one had thought of this before, probably for obvious reasons, but he wants to do this because it's cheaper. I would have thought it's probably a site where you wouldn't get permission to do it anyway, because there's a natural reef there with all sorts of sea life and wildlife and everything. Anyway, is it possible, and what do we think of the idea? Good on him for thinking about a second harbour crossing, because we've still got the same one there when I was a kid, 45 years ago. But someone's got to think about it, but I just don't think this was the idea. Dr. Tim Welch, Senior Lecturer of Architecture and Planning at Auckland University, is with us now. Tim, g'day.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. What did you make of it when you first saw it?
On the whole, I think the idea was probably dead before the mayor got it down on paper. The issue is not just that it kind of runs through two potential reserves, but also that it's really not connected to the rest of the transport network. So it's really hard to see how this would benefit commuters in any way.
It'd be all right for the people living next to it, but that's about it. So it goes from where to where?
Well, it essentially goes from the Meola Reef, and that's kind of, on the eastern side of the zoo. So if we wanted to connect to the highway there, we'd have to have a bridge, I guess, that would go over the zoo. I don't know how well that would go over. And then it would connect into kind of close to Birkenhead. It's just residential right there in Birkenhead. It'd take a while to actually get to the highway, and it's just not connected to anything.
Yeah, it's that sort of Cody Point corner there, isn't it? That sort of area around Beachhaven, Chelsea View, that sort of thing in there. I just don't. Good on for thinking about it. Do we? Have you looked much at the idea of second harbour crossings in Auckland?
We've needed another harbour crossing for a long time, and it's something that we've been debating for 50 years. Really, the existing bridge seemed like it wasn't enough, really, as soon as it was built, and that's why we added the clip-on lanes, and that wasn't enough at the time. But if we look back at it, really peak traffic on the bridge was 2018, and it's kind of held steady since then. We do have a second harbour crossing in the North Harbour Drive area, so we do have a way for trucks to not go over the bridge, which has reduced some demand. So what we should be doing is looking at how we can future-proof that crossing, and possibly public transportation is the better route there.
Well, do we need the train to be crossing into the North Shore, because we don't have a train across to the shore, never have. And I just wonder if you're going to have it's a third harbour crossing, really, isn't it? If you're going to have a third harbour crossing, how do you future-proof it? What should it look like?
Yeah, we can build a bridge that can support rail in the future, so it can have maybe a car lane or two, but it can also have prioritization for buses. So we know that about 50% of the commute traffic to and from the North Shore is already by public transportation, and the bus just doesn't have priority over the bridge. So if we give it priority, more people would use it, and we can reduce traffic further on the existing bridge. And if we built a bridge that supported buses, that could also, in the future, support rail, we'd really be setting ourselves up for a good future where we can expand transport options.
I agree. We need to future-proof it, don't we, by at least having corridors, some space and free for that expansion. I've lived in the city on and off for 50 years. I've spent a lot of time in Wellington too, but, it's a sort of home. And I cannot believe that for all the population that has come into Auckland in the last 30 years, especially the last 30 years, with big time immigration policy to bring people here to fill up the city, that we've still got the same harbour crossing. It's unbelievable. Nothing. The only thing that's changed is they've taken the tolls off it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that has just been constantly caught up in the political cycle. Nearly every government that comes in throws out some ideas, but they're gone in 3 or 6 years, and the next government comes in and has their own ideas. We've never seemed to be able to get over that hump of just deciding on one route to go. But we certainly have literally hundreds and hundreds of different options on paper over the years.
But nothing's. I mean, when do you think we might see a crossing? Because I looked at it politically, and there's no funding committed to this. There's no date really. It's a little bit woolly, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so the last government wanted to do it within a decade or so, at least get started. But the new government's kind of stopped that to some degree, and we don't see any funding for it. It's really hard to tell where this is going to go in the future. It just seems to continually be a football that we're kicking back and forth between the political parties.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Tim, I appreciate your time on the program. Thanks for being available.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Good on you. All the very best. Dr. Tim Welch, Senior Lecturer of Architecture in Planning at Auckland University.